I had to watch my father decline right before my eyes as his brain was swelling up, and having to hear the doctors tell us that his brain was swelling up so much that it can come through his nose at any second, and that there was nothing that they could do about it.
I mean, you got $30 from him, right? Ground. Why not take the money and go get your liquor or drugs, whatever?
It was a two-way street. It was two people, but I take my responsibility for my doing.
He was on the ground.
Yeah, he was.
And you heard correctly. He took a father's life over $30. How senseless. Now, Connecticut sentenced him to 20 years in prison, but after serving just 11, he is asking for a commutation. He is asking for a commutation because he was struck by a horrible disease while locked up. And we'll get into that in the middle of the hearing. And a prisoner has the right to ask, has the legal right to ask to have their sentence commuted. But the reasons that he gives, for example, so he can be a part of his daughter's life, and the lack of remorse and accountability that he shows in this hearing is striking. Now let's jump in, and I'll unpack it with more details at the end.
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Lawton, for the record, please clearly state your name and inmate number to the board.
Kevin Christian Lawton, 362-261.
With the board's permission, you may proceed to explain why you believe you deserve relief. Or if you wish to have your attorney make an opening statement, you may do so then. And they may instruct the board after the decision is yours.
Mr. Lawton, before we begin, I just want to note for the record that this hearing is being live streamed. It's a public hearing. So in order to protect your confidential information, we'll be going into executive session to discuss some of your protected health information. So I just want you to be mindful. We won't ask you any of those questions on the record, okay?
Okay.
Do you wish to speak, or do you want your attorney to go first?
I would like my attorney to go first.
Okay. Good morning, members. I'm Attorney Jen Beiske, and I have the pleasure of representing Mr. Lawton. And I have had the pleasure of representing Mr. Lawton for some time now. And I know the time for this board is not for me, it's for him. But I do want to just take a brief moment of your time to thank you for giving him this opportunity to talk with you. I know that the moment he got that confirmation was definitely a light in a dark tunnel that he's had for a while. But one of the things I think it's important to know about Mr. Lawton is the true light in his life is his daughter, Gabriella, a person that he has not gotten to see since she's been born, and that he's not gotten to be a father to the way that he wants, that he's been present for every day of her life since she's been born. He's been a father who's been attentive as much as he can be, being behind bars. I know that he has a strong support system in his family, in his parents, his mother and his father, who want nothing but the best for him, who support and love him, who will be able to provide him stable housing, and who will be able to provide him employment opportunities upon his release. There's a lot that I know is going to be discussed today, both publicly and then in the private stream, as noted by the board. I do want to make one note, and I don't think it's going to be lost on anyone in this hearing, that there's nothing that can change actions that took place over 11 years ago. A life was lost. That life can't be returned. That's not lost on Mr. Lawton. That's not lost on this process. But I think it's important to note that part of what we do here is to look at what is the individual's ability to contribute to society, to be a productive member of their community, and what is the risk of the community of letting this person go. And I think you will learn through talking with Mr. Lawton, you will learn in terms of his support of his family, you will learn that he is not the same man he was over 11 years ago for a lot of reasons, in his maturity, but also just in his, medical status, as the board is well aware of, he's not the same person. He does not pose a risk to the community. He has every desire to be a loving, caring father to his daughter, Gabriella. He wants to be present for her. He wants to be present for his family. He has a determination and a will and a power about him that makes him want to be someone that's different than who he was over 11 years ago. And I hope that you will see that through today's hearing. I hope you will take that into consideration when discussing with him. And I look forward to what the board has to learn today. And I stand by for Mr. Lawton here today.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Lawton, did you have a statement to give, sir?
Excuse me?
Did you want to give a statement on your own?
Yes, I do, ma'am. So I wrote this statement in pure honesty, and it says, "Hi, my name is Kevin Lawton, and I've made mistakes, and taking Carmelo Negron's life is one of them. All I can do is say and hope that the family accepts my apology. I've been sober for 11 years by taking NAAA classes weekly and provided by the prison. I have been incarcerated 11 years and all of my teenage years. Please let me prove to the court and community, prison and groups such as Thinking for a Change and Voices made a difference. In Thinking for a Change, it shows you 4 steps on how to take care of a problem. One step is, what am I supposed to do? What can I do? What will happen? And I need to find out how I did. And Voices, we watched a film, and in that film, it showed car theft and armed robberies. I wouldn't want to be put in any of those situations. And in 2015, I was playing basketball and I collapsed. I was brought to a hospital. Among taking numerous tests, they finally reached a consumption. An MD doctor named Muhammad Amitola was the person who diagnosed me 100% with chronic multiple sclerosis. It has affected me greatly because I'm no longer able to walk, so I'm wheelchair bound. My hands constantly shake. Prison can't help me. So I feel that me being home is better help for me. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lawton, thank you for your statement. As Officer Eastwood said, this panel has reviewed your file very thoroughly from your past history to the current offense, through your court proceedings and incarceration and up to the present. We have the submissions from you and your attorney. So we're very well versed in your case. We do have some questions for you. We will go into executive session to ask further questions. Then the state's attorney and the Office of the Victim Services will have the opportunity to speak today before we deliberate and give you our decision. Okay?
Thank you.
So I want to clear a few things up. You started in your application by saying that in 10 plus years, you haven't received any disciplinary reports, but that's not true, sir. You've had 25 and as recent as this year. So I'm not sure, where does the confusion come from?
The confusion comes from, you said 25?
Yes.
The 25 was from me getting into trouble And I thought that my tickets had already cleared.
But clearing and deleting it or being erased are two very different things. You said you hadn't received any tickets in 10 years. You've received many tickets throughout all of the years up until very recently.
Understand?
Okay. All right. So that's not accurate. Your application is not accurate. You just said that you've been sober for 11 years, but your tickets indicate otherwise. You have marijuana use and some kind of pill use this year.
That's inaccurate, ma'am.
Okay.
The refusal to comply, well, it's the refusal to give a urinalysis, right? That was this year, correct?
Yeah.
I gave a urinalysis, but it wasn't in the time frame that they authorized it for.
Okay. So we'll put the refusing specimen aside. What about the contraband A for the actual drugs?
That was not my contraband, because that was medication that wasn't mine. That was medication that was my cellmate's that he put in my property.
Mhm. So you didn't use marijuana in the facility?
No, ma'am.
Did you threaten a corrections officer?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You have tickets for threatening sexual misconduct, threatening a corrections officer, destruction of property, assault on a DOC employee. Do you recall any of these behaviors? I don't want to go through all of them because there's so many, but do you take responsibility for any of these tickets?
I take responsibility for the assault on the DOC employee. I do. I take
What happened?
responsibility for that. Because he put my hand behind my back and he like kind of cuffed me the wrong way. And he like gripped my hand, kind of bent my wrist and almost broke my wrist. And I like snapped back. And I guess like my elbow hit him, so he called it an assault.
We'll move on from the tickets because I don't feel like we're getting anywhere. And I started there. That's not the most, okay, fine, that's one. That's not the most important thing to talk about today, but I thought it would be the easiest to get through, and it.
But that's what the assault was.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about programs that you've completed in the 10 plus years that you've been there. I have two listed: people empowering people and alternatives to violence. Is there anything that I'm missing, sir?
I did Thinking for a Change.
Okay.
I did Voices.
Okay. Tell me what you gained from the Voices program. What did you learn?
They taught you about car thefts, robberies, what to not do, like in robberies and stuff like that, like how to go about staying out of how about staying away from people of that nature, that of negative behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So
Voices, sir, is a program that's very specific to the impact that you have on your victims, the victims of your crimes. Did you receive your high school diploma during this
Yes,
incarceration, sir?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
in 2014. And I got
Okay.
that in Northern.
I'm sorry?
I got that at Northern Corrections.
Okay, all right. So what are you doing currently in the facility with your time?
I'm taking college courses.
Okay, what classes are you in right now?
I'm doing math and social science.
And what program is that through?
Excuse me?
What school are you going to? What program? Are
Yale.
you-
Yale.
You're in
Yes.
the Yale Prison Initiative? Did we
Yes,
have some-
ma'am.
No.
Yeah, they have Yale here.
We don't have any of that documentation.
Oh, they have Yale classes here, actually.
Attorney Beisky, do you have that information? Is this attorney with us? He's there. Huh.
And it's funny too, because my mom works at Yale.
Attorney Beisky, can you hear me? I don't understand. She's muted, but I don't know if she can hear us or not. Huh. I'm gonna go back to that. Have you held jobs throughout your incarceration, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I was the chairman at Corrigan
For how long?
for like 2.5 years.
Okay, and when did you stop working?
When they transferred me,
Okay, do you know how long you've been at your current facility?
7 months.
Okay. Let's talk about your crime, sir. Very, very tragic, and someone lost their life, right? And a family lost their loved one.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us why you committed this crime?
Both for gay too.
I'm sorry?
Both for a high and liquor.
Okay, so you were looking, so I mean, you got $30 from him, right?
I was chasing a high.
Chasing a high. But why did you have to beat him while he was on the ground? Why not take the money and go get your liquor or drugs, whatever?
It was a two-way street. It was two people. But I take my responsibility for my doing.
He was on the ground.
Yeah, he was.
So it can't really be a two-way fight if somebody's not, on the ground defenseless.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I'm going to reserve some of my questions for executive session, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues now. But I'm going to try to reach out to your attorney once again. Attorney Beisky, can you hear me?
But then we're gonna have no movement. Yeah, nothing I did, nothing. Oh, yeah.
Okay, Ms. Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Lawton, you've been incarcerated now for about 11 years.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think has been your most significant accomplishment?
I think my high school diploma.
Okay, that is a big accomplishment. I would agree with that. Right. Do you think that what's that?
I said, because I think if I was home, I wouldn't have got it.
Yeah, I mean, often that being in prison gives you the time to do those things and think positively about the benefits. So you have taken a number of programs, and you got your GED. Do you think you've done enough to be rehabilitated?
I think I did because I took NA and AA classes, which I'm still taking. And
Those are,
like,
those are voluntary, right? You just,
yeah,
they're
they're
not necessarily
they're,
classes.
they're voluntary. And like, I've been doing it for 11 years consecutive.
So if you've been
And
doing NA and AA for the last 11 years to be a better person, see things differently, address your addiction, why do you think you're still struggling to get along at the prison, to abide by the rules?
what, to abide by the rules out of prison
No,
or in prison?
okay, so let me rephrase that. So Mr. Lawton, you said you're doing AA and NA, you're working on your sobriety. You must be getting some information in those meetings about better ways to react, different, more positive ways to respond with your emotions than using drugs or acting out. So why do you think after doing that for 11 years that you're still having trouble of staying within the rules at the prison?
I don't think I'm having trouble staying within the rules at the prison. I just think the people at the prison, they're just, they get at me. And I have a problem like with them. Like, they don't understand me. They get in my circle and it's always a conflict with me because they get in my bubble and they see it's a good bubble and they pop it all the time.
What does that mean? What do you mean by bubble?
Meaning, like, I have a good bubble and they're like negative, it's negative energy that they're bringing in this good bubble and they pop it.
So you've done these, you did Thinking for a Change, Voices, People Empowering People. I also have that you participated in the Step Forward program,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So you do all these programs, which coming in at the age of 21, you're still a little immature. Those programs should be helping you think in a way where you're resolving conflict in a positive way. So do you think that's happening?
Yeah and no.
Okay. So how do you think you're going to manage it back in the community when people are not helping you the way you think they should?
Like I said to you in my statement, I gotta follow these 4 steps. 1, what am I supposed to do? 2, what can I do? 3, what'll happen? And 4, I need to find out how I did.
Do you practice those steps while you're at the prison?
I try to all the time. All the time. And like, I've been like super good at it a lot of the time. And then a lot of the time I haven't been.
And what do you think? And why do you think it can't be all the time that the steps work for
It
you?
needs to be, if I'm home, it needs to be all the time, especially if I have my daughter around me.
Because when we look at somebody's disciplinary history at the prison, and very often, I look at it and I like to see how old the person is when they come in and if their behavior improves as they get older, right? They figure out how to make better decisions, they figure out who to be around, how to stay out of trouble. And you consistently seem to have struggled with that since you entered at age 21. Do you see that?
Yeah,
You do, okay. All right. So, Mr. Lawton, what would be your plan when you're back in the community? What have you thought about?
I'm definitely not gonna quit doing my AA and NA classes for sure. And like my mom, she says she's gonna help me get housing. She says she's gonna help me find a job. She's gonna help me do a lot of the things that I can't do on my own.
Anything else?
I'm gonna definitely try to do a lot more stuff. I wanna do like an outreach program. Like go to an outreach program. I wanna find a nice church.
Okay, well, it seems as though you've given it some thought.
I gave it a lot of thought for 11 years.
You were on probation for a robbery charge when these charges happened. And you were supposed to do what for probation?
I don't remember at all.
Don't remember? Okay. All right, Mr. Lawton, thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you. Attorney Bice, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I apologize. It was not letting me unmute on the phone. I had to switch over briefly.
No, I figured.
I've listened. I've been hearing the whole thing though, and I apologize, Chairperson, that it was not letting me come off to talk with you when you were calling me specifically. I apologize.
That's okay. So he has indicated that he's in the Yale Prison Initiative taking college courses, and we have no information to confirm that. Do you have that information?
I don't have anything immediately available right now to provide the board that I've seen, but I'll double check that, but I don't think I have anything right in this
All right. Okay.
moment.
Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Chance.
So, Mr. Lawton, so some of the issues that I just have is, the confirmation of the information that you are providing to us. Specifically, you indicated that you received your GED in 2014 at Northern, but
Yes.
I read that you said you received your GED in 2018.
Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you want me to repeat what I just said?
No, I heard what you just said. You said 2018. So my timing was off. I apologize.
Okay, so it's 2018.
All right, 2018.
Okay. So you indicated, I read through your file that you were having some problems with different substance abuse, including alcohol.
We're in Northern.
No,
We're
just any of the facilities that you're at. So have you taken a tier program while you're there to address your substance abuse? And if so, when?
I took tier 2 before.
Do you remember which facility or?
No, I do not recollect.
So what do you think are your triggers in terms of substance abuse?
I just think that I had an alcohol problem, really. That's why I started taking AA, because I knew that I had an alcohol problem. And I took NA because I knew that I had a marijuana problem and a
What
cocaine
about,
habit.
yeah, cocaine and codeine? So,
Yeah,
so now you understand that you had a problem with alcohol and you had a problem with drugs.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and you indicated that you have been clean and sober for 11 years.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you staying sober?
By taking those 2 classes.
You mean attending the NA and AA meetings?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me 1 or 2 things that you're learning in that you think is helping you.
That alcohol is poisoning my body. And so is the drugs. That drugs is one sign of the devil. So is alcohol.
What do you do when you get an urge to get a drink or take drugs?
Pick up a book or eat something.
Okay, and I'm asking you that because you indicated that drugs and alcohol played a role in your charge, your current charge that you're incarcerated for.
Yes.
I want to just go back to your release plan because you had different variations of what you would do for release. But today, when my colleague asked you, Ms. Smith, Mary, asked you about your release plan, you indicated that your mom is going to help you find housing and a job. And then you're going to attend NA meetings and do an outreach program and find a nice church. But I just want to share some of what you said was your initial release plan, and then you can tell me why you changed.
Yeah, please, may I?
You said you wanted to be in a long-term rehab.
Yes, he's got to unmute.
And then you said initially maybe halfway house. And then you are going to apply for Social Security.
Yes.
But then you also said, you know, with proper medical care that you could participate in a vocational program. So that would provide you with some forms of employment. And you indicated that you would be physically able to do that. And lastly, you said you have extensive family support of your mother, brother, aunt, and cousins. And they all live in Connecticut.
Yes,
Does
ma'am.
any of that still apply?
Yes, my mother lives in Connecticut. So does my brothers and my father and my aunt.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other further questions. I'll wait till we go in executive.
Thank you. At this point, I'll move that the panel enter executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 1-231 for the purpose of consideration of matters exempt from public disclosure because of one or more of the following reasons: discussions of matters which may involve information that would constitute an invasion of personal privacy, or which would otherwise result in the disclosure of information which is exempt, confidential, or privileged. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. We're gonna go off the record and off the live stream to discuss some private information with you. We'll bring your attorney in with us, but hold tight. Our media specialist will be in to help us shortly.
Sir, can you call the officer in for us?
Yo. Nah, they're gonna go into a live stream meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I'm not done, but
They need me?
they need you real quick.
You guys need me for something?
Yes, we're gonna have you disconnect from this call, and then the board is gonna go into executive session, so I'm gonna send you a new call in just a minute.
Okay.
When you see the pop-up appear on the screen, if you can click accept.
All right.
And then when they're done, we'll have you come back to this link.
Okay.
Thank you. And attorney, Steve will connect you in just a moment. Sounds good.
Perfect. I can find the button. Want me to distance the whole?
It's still saying I'm not.
Want me to distance the whole?
Are you just having trouble unmuting?
Yeah, if you want to set them out now, and then I'm gonna be honest. it'd be
Attorney Weisky, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
easier to do it now, but-
The June 12, 2024 commutation session of the Connecticut Board of Pardons parole is back in session now.
Thank you. So we are out of executive session, back in the public hearing. At this point, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for victim input. Ms. DeJesus, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, board members. I do have the Mr. Negron's family via Teams. This is your opportunity to unmute your microphone and provide your statement to the panel members. I am to remind you that you're to address the panel members only, and you may begin.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, all. I am the oldest child of Carmelo Negron. I am present this morning to give my impact statement on the murder of my father, Carmelo Negron. Carmelo Negron was a loved father, brother, and friend.
You got this.
Everyone who knew my father loved and respected him. He was a hardworking man who was a great father and was always there for his children and loved ones. On August 9th, 2013, my father was violently attacked and robbed by Kevin Lawton. The beating that my father suffered in the hands of Kevin Lawton led to a fractured skull and massive brain swelling. My father was hospitalized because of the beating, and the effects of the brain swelling led to my father going into cardiac arrest, which subsequently led to his untimely demise. Kevin Lawton beat my father to death, and myself and my siblings were robbed of having our father here. There are so many things that we could only wish our father was still alive and here to see and experience with us. But unfortunately, that's not possible. Like the birth of 3 new grandchildren, and you'll never get to meet them. A beautiful grandson at the age of 6 that was named after his amazing grandfather, Carmelo. His 2 youngest daughters became moms this year. And he'll never get to meet those 2 precious baby girls. They will never get the privilege to meet their grandfather. I had to watch my father decline right before my eyes as his brain was swelling up, and having to hear the doctors tell us that his brain was swelling up so much that it can come through his nose at any second, and that there was nothing that they could do about it. Losing my father is the most painful thing I've ever had to live with for the rest of my life. It's more than hard living life without my father. I suffer through great depressions because of it. And although it's been almost 11 years, it doesn't get easier. I ask for the parole board to please hear out my plea to have justice fully served for the death of my father that was in the hands of Kevin Lawton. And that I ask that he please serve the rest of his sentence behind bars. Although no amount of time served by this man will bring my father back or the memory of how he was brutally beaten and killed, please let justice be served for my father, Carmelo Negron, and for myself, my siblings, and all of us who love my father so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Ms. DeJesus, did we have anyone else?
Yes, we have 2 others.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, hello court. My name is Jamar. I am the son-in-law of Carmelo Negron. And I would like to start my impact statement by saying, I grew up, I never had a good father. I met this man, Carmelo Negron, and he stood in place as a father for me. He provided edification for me when I needed it, support, and his love. And all I want to say is to the courtroom, I believe that justice is very important. And justice should match the crime that you committed. You take a life off this earth, I feel that your life should be, I'm sorry. When you take a life off this earth, I feel that justice should be justified. And you were sentenced to 20 years. It's only been 10. If you feel, if courtroom, if the defendant feels that he's really rehabilitated, then he should serve his time. If he really feels that he wants to make amends to the family that he caused all this damage to, he needs to serve the duration of his time. Coming out early, I don't feel that that's justified. And the defendant said that he was rehabilitated. The defendant said that he learned his lesson and he's going to NA and AA classes. But I'm just hearing that you have an offense of smoking marijuana. So for this person to say that he's rehabilitated, I can't believe that. So court, I'm just asking you, please, under God, can you please allow this man that took a great soul from us brutally to serve the duration of his time? Thank you, court.
Thank you.
Good morning to the parole board. My name is Carmelo Negron Jr. I am the only son of Carmelo Negron. So I'll take you back to the month of 2013 of June. It was a month that changed my life forever. It was a month that I was sentenced as well. I was sentenced to a term of life without my father. And it was through the hands of the persons in this Zoom call. My dad was my best friend. He was my teacher. All the memories I have with my father, from Little League to catching a ball game, to the baptism, to all these memories that I have that no one can ever take from me. But what was taken from me were the memories that I had after the fact of June of 2013. I got to become a correction officer myself. I got to serve my city with pride. I got to purchase a home, which my dad would never walk through my door. I got to get married and have a moment of silence for my dad at my wedding, which I wish he would have been there. I don't have much to say that you haven't heard already, but what I will tell you is this. There's no amount of time that this person here can serve to ever bring my father back. I don't carry hate in my heart, but neither do I carry forgiveness. I do not forgive the defendant for what he did. He mercilessly beat my father to death, and that could have been anyone's father. Could have been anyone's brother. No remorse for life or care, just callous and merciless evil. There are no words that I can put to describe how I feel about what took place. What I will say is this person does not deserve to be standing next to us in the line of a grocery store. This person does not deserve to be pumping gas next to us or pumping our gas. He does not deserve to have memories with his daughter, Gabriella, because I want to mention more names here, speaking of children. Jeanette, Eileen, Elizabeth, Allison, and myself, Carmelo. We don't have any more chances for memories with our father. I feel no remorse, and I hope he serves every second of his 20 years. Thank you, parole board.
Okay, thank you to, that's it? Okay, thank you to the victim's family members for coming forward and speaking today, and thank you to the Office of Victim Services for facilitating that. At this time, we will turn the hearing over to the state's attorney's office. Attorney Gary, are you here with us? Thank you.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good morning, members of the board. I'm Assistant State's Attorney Joy Gary. I'm here on behalf of the Waterbury State's Attorney's Office to object to Mr. Lawton's application for commutation. The sentence Mr. Lawton received was appropriate for the severity of the crimes he committed, and his sentence should remain as it is. As you know, Mr. Lawton was convicted of manslaughter in the first degree, robbery in the first degree, conspiracy to commit robbery in the first degree, robbery in the second degree, and conspiracy to commit robbery in the second degree. These crimes were extremely serious and violent. I will not state all the facts of these cases since the board is already familiar with the facts and they have already been stated by the victim's family. But I will note, Carmelo Negron lost his life due to the conduct of Kevin Lawton. Given the serious nature of these convictions and the impact of these crimes on the victim's family, the state does oppose Mr. Lawton's sentence being reduced. The current sentence that he's serving reflects the seriousness of these crimes. Thank you, members of the board. There's nothing further.
Thank you, Attorney Gary. Okay, Mr. Lawton, so at this time, the panel is going to deliberate. Everyone is free to listen to our deliberation, and we will come back with our decision shortly. All right, so I certainly appreciate everyone's input here today. Mr. Lawton's been down for a little over 10 years now. He's taken a few programs. I'm not sure that he benefited from the programs because I did not hear that in his presentation here today. What's more concerning to me is that he's managed to obtain 25 disciplinary reports, and as recently as this year. He himself said that this crime was fueled by drug and alcohol abuse, and just a few months ago, he self-admitted to using marijuana in the facility and refused to give a specimen when asked in the appropriate time frame. While I do understand that he believes there are some outside confidential issues that would warrant a commutation, we do not have any updated records from the facility to justify such. And it appears that he is in general population and functioning pretty well enough to pick up these disciplinary infractions. So it's my opinion that there are no exceptional or compelling circumstances present here that would warrant a reduction of his sentence. Ms. Palmieri?
Madam Chair, I concur with everything that you just outlined. I would also add, it really just doesn't, Mr. Lawton mentioned a number of programs that he's taken, and often we look at program participation and benefit from that as mitigating. Many of the programs have no verification to, and I question, as you do, what he actually gained from those programs. It doesn't appear he's benefited. When I questioned him about the disciplinary reports as it relates to the coping skills maybe that he said he learned from, say, Thinking for a Change, he, said he's unable to apply them. So he's been unable as a 32-year-old person to comply with the rules of the program, takes no responsibility for it. And quite frankly, I'm not sure that, I think he wishes the events hadn't happened. He says he was chasing a high, as he puts it, but there is, I'm not sure, a lot of recognition about the significance and the loss to the victims by what we've heard today. I do think that, as we discussed in executive session, there are some outlining factors that may considered at another time, but for today, I also did not find any exceptional or compelling circumstances to warrant a reduction.
Thank you. Ms. Chance?
I agree with everything that both of you have said, and I have to add because those are the same things.
All right, in the matter of Kevin Lawton, inmate number 362261, the panel finds that there are no exceptional or compelling circumstances that would warrant a commutation of your sentence, and therefore your application for commutation is denied. Additional reason being the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We wish you the best, Mr. Lawton. Thank you, everyone, for your participation here today.
You guys are the best.
This now concludes the June 12th, 2024 computation session of the Connecticut Board of Corrections. Inmate Kevin Lawton, inmate number 36261. Thank you. This now concludes the June 12th, 2024 computation session of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole at 11:57 a.m.
Did he just turn off the light?
He sure did.
Was he
sure
doing it
did.
already?
He sure did. Sit down like.
All right, and we saw, yeah, he goes and throws a little tantrum there at the end. Really, I'd expect nothing less. And frankly, I think we got to give the board credit here. They did not buy his whole story. They're basically, I think, read between the lines, are saying he's exaggerating his disease. And look, I don't take his disease lightly. I don't think I've ever shared this with you guys. My wife was diagnosed with MS maybe 6 years ago or something, and I don't wish it on my worst enemy, but some might call it, in this situation, maybe some might call it karma. But at the same time, I think the parole board was saying, well, yeah, he's got it, but maybe it's not as bad as he's making it out to be. It was interesting that he's holding up his hand at the beginning. A lot of shaking going on, but as the hearing progressed, and I saw Sir Richard put in the notes too, it seemed to go away, especially when the victims were talking. Wasn't that interesting? He's kind of standing there without an expression on his face, and it's like, you killed their father, you killed their loved one, you can't even fake it. And we know you had the ability to fake it at the beginning when your attorney was talking about you. Ooh, then you shed a tear. I mean, can you even imagine to not have the insight? It's like, we need to let him out because of his daughter. And it's like, you fool. You got a 20-year sentence. You killed a man over $30 and a pack of cigarettes, and now you should be out because of your daughter? And then you can't even fake empathy when his daughter speaks? We're going to see his co-defendants here. Now, his co-defendant, he gets to have a hearing before his release date, not because he has a disease or something, no, but because he was under the age of 17 when he committed the crime. So they passed laws, Act 23169, which gives him a chance at parole. So as you can see, in the state of Connecticut, the victims don't get much, but those who commit the crimes, they get a lot of chances. They get a lot of chances to get out early. They get a lot of benefits. They get a lot, supposedly even classes at Yale, although I don't for 1 second believe it. I think this guy has some other delusional things going on. And his attorney, that was interesting how she kind of was MIA in the hearing and then said, oh, I couldn't get my mic to work. It's like, this hearing took place in 2024. COVID's been long and gone. And you could imagine she's probably done thousands of calls over the internet. But I'm just I would never say anything wrong against an attorney. That would be stupid, right? So obviously I'm just speculating. I'm sure she was sitting there unable to figure it out. That's probably exactly what happened. But yeah, hey, I mean, if I was his attorney, I'd probably also do the same thing, right? I don't know if I'm saying the wrong things here. So you hear it from the victims, just absolutely, and this is so fresh. It's not like this is a murder like we see in Louisiana. It's like 30 years later. It's like, this is, wow, 10 years later. And he's already sitting there like asking for freedom, right? What a horrible record. Now, this one we're about to watch, I did cover it once before, but YouTube did its thing, and 90% of you have not yet seen it. And for the few of you that have seen it, you don't need to continue watching it. But I'm connecting the dots on these hearings. That's what I'd like to do. So it's his co-defendant. We'll connect the dots, and I'm going to keep my original unpacking. So with that, I'll let you go.
William Ramirez, inmate number 395107.
This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Ramirez, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No questions at this time.
Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions, and are you willing to proceed at this time?
No questions at this time, and I am willing to proceed.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for William Ramirez. I'm going to list his sentences, each sentence and each time. Mr. Ramirez is serving 20 years executed suspended after 15 years, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first. The following sentences are running concurrent to the 15-year sentence, and they are 15 years for conspiracy to commit robbery first, 10 years for robbery second, and 10 years for conspiracy to commit robbery second. He has a 10-year suspended sentence for robbery first, which is running consecutive to his present sentence. The total effective sentence is 30 years, executed, suspended after 15 years, followed by 5 years probation. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows Mr. Ramirez has completed tier 2, people empowering people, unlock your thinking, 7 challenges, voices, good intentions, bad choices, alternatives to violence, basic and advanced, anger management. He is housed in the True unit and has completed several programs within that unit. He has completed Smart Recovery, the Young Men's Group. He is enrolled in college. He is OSHA 10 certified, and he works in the sign shop. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Ramirez, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Good morning to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. First and foremost, I would like to start this letter by extending my gratitude for affording me this opportunity to set forth this letter to the board. I would like to start out by saying that the mistakes I have made throughout the course of my life have become lessons for growth. And I'm genuinely sorry for the painful experience that I have put my victim's family through and for taking away the person that they love most. My regrets are plenty and my remorse is heavy, and these traces of the past keep me attentive to my present situation and what I must do to become and stay well for all of society. I have spent countless of hours reflecting on my mistakes and the consequences they have wrought, not only on my life, but more importantly on theirs. At the time of my crime, I was not fully aware of the depth of pain my actions could cause, nor was I willing to accept any type of responsibility or accountability towards myself or others. However, this does not excuse my behavior, nor does it diminish the severity of my wrongdoing. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not left to reflect upon the crimes that I committed. How did I find myself in a situation that caused the death of another human being? Why did I make the decisions that I made on that tragic day? How, if ever, can I make amends for the loss of life? These questions are no doubt painful. Nevertheless, they compel me to daily attend to my transformation. On August 9th, 2013, I committed a tragic crime of a brutal robbery, assault, and death that forever changed the course of Mr. Negron's life, his family's life, and my own. At around 10 or 11 p.m. at night, I remember smoking and getting high with my friend Kevin on Central Ave in Waterbury, Connecticut. As we sat there, the irrational idea of robbing someone came to my mind. I was seeking a way to continue to increase my reputation in the streets and prove myself without realizing the tragic outcome that was to come from my poor decision that night. I told Kevin that we should go find someone who we could make a come up on, and shortly after, we left. As we were walking around through the night, we ended up by the Bishop, Adams, and Grove Street area where I noticed 2 people walking in front of us, Mr. Negron and his girlfriend at the time. I told Kevin that I was going to ask Mr. Negron for some change, which meant that I was going to rob him. As I got closer to Mr. Negron and his girlfriend, I ran up to them and stopped them. I asked him for some change. Mr. Negron told me that he had nothing to spare for me, and in that moment, my immature, impulsive, and cowardly 17-year-old mindset kicked in. I felt like it gave me an attitude, and I didn't like a response to denying me anything. I wanted to prove to Kevin that I don't tolerate disrespect, and in that instant, it wasn't about just getting the money anymore. It was about my reputation in the streets. I punched Mr. Negron in the face one time, and then he fell to the ground. Shortly after he fell, he curled himself into a ball trying to cover his face and head. He yelled, all right, and he was willing to give me anything he had. However, I still kept punching him in the face and head about 3 or 4 more times with such anger and aggression, and I also kicked him multiple times around the head area, stomach, and back. Never did I once consider his plea or even the possibility of the initial impact that I would leave behind on him and his family. I didn't think much of the situation at all. After I brutally assaulted Mr. Negron, I aggressively went into his pockets, took some money and cigarettes, and then I ran. After I got away, I didn't think much about the brutal assault and robbery I just committed on Mr. Negron. I didn't think about his injuries, his emotions, his traumatizing experience, or even the possibility of him eventually losing his life. My arrogant self just thought about my reputation and my worth to the streets. I didn't feel no emotions of sympathy or empathy. I didn't feel nothing at all. What I did was a cowardly act of selfish. I worried about what others thought about me, and it led to an innocent man losing his life and me making the worst decision of my life this very night. To Mr. Negron's family, I've come to understand the gravity of my past actions and my involvement in the tragic death of someone meaningful to you, and the constant impact that this has had all on you as a family. I never recognized how one decision can have such a strong bearing effect. I understand that justice has to be served and that I must be punished for my crimes, because nothing can compensate for the unbearable pain that I have caused and you as a family has had to endure throughout the years. I took away the opportunity for you all to have a father figure, a brother, a partner in all of your lives, and the opportunity to continue to create wonderful memories as a family together. I've come to realize how my actions of the past has caused much turmoil in your lives, and if I could go back in time and change the ways of my actions, I would do it without any hesitation. Throughout the sequence of my incarceration, I have come and learned how to be a responsible man, and I take full responsibility for my actions. I can only hope that you can see that deep down within my heart lies a genuine sense of contrition and remorse. And I pray that the Lord may help us make amends and that He may open your hearts to genuinely see my keenest sense of repentance and sorrows. My hopes are that my capacity for change will be recognized by all of you, the family, and I'm ready to prove to you and the community that I can be a productive and successful member of society. I was born on 1995 in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and I have two sisters, a little brother, and two nieces. As far as I can remember, I lived in Puerto Rico until I was about 3 years old, and then my mother moved to Connecticut. Being raised in the project of Northwood in Waterbury, Connecticut, I was exposed and observed many tumultuous events throughout my childhood. I witnessed violence. I'm committed to making a tangible, positive impact. In conclusion, this letter of apology is just one step in my long journey towards making amends. I'm committed to living out my apology through my actions every day. I'm fully aware that my future actions must demonstrate my remorse and my dedication to being a better member of society. Once again, I deeply regret the pain and trouble I've caused. Thank you for considering my apology and for your potential role in helping me navigate this path to a better and more responsible life. Sincerely, William Ramirez.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez, thank you for that statement. We did have much of that information. It was sent to us already, but we certainly appreciate your input and putting it all on the record for us. This panel has reviewed your file extensively in addition to correspondence from Attorney Wheeler and social worker Habif. Did I say it right? Habif. Okay. So we're very familiar with your case. We do have some questions. When we're done with our questions, we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services and any input that they have. And then your attorney and the state's attorney will have the opportunity to speak. We'll deliberate and make our decision here today. Okay?
Okay.
You ended your statement with, I believe, thank you for accepting my apology.
Thank you for considering my apology.
That's not our job here. I don't know who that was directed to. I'm not sure the victim, well, the surviving victim or the victim's family would accept your apology. That's not our role here. Our role here is to determine whether you're suitable for release at this time in Public Act 1584. And I'm not sure, you did have 2 robbery victims. I'm not sure you mentioned the other ones. But, you know, both were just very difficult to read about, if I'm being honest, Mr. Ramirez. These were just unwarranted acts of violence on perfect strangers. And I can't imagine what the victim who died as a result and his family went through. Not sure if you're aware of the details of exactly what happened to him, but this went on for some time, and he really suffered, you know, before he passed. And there was probably a time when he and his family thought they were going to be okay. But for me, it was just hard to imagine in reading this, just the lack of caring for a human life, what you did to him, that, you know, and you spelled out some of the details yourself, but can't imagine not for 1 second feeling bad when you were committing these crimes. So definitely feel for the victims and the victim's family in this case. You were 17 years old at the time, so I understand, and you've explained, and we read about some of your history and where you were in that period of your life. You mentioned your co-defendant, Kevin. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, you only knew him for a few weeks?
Yes, that's correct.
And how did you meet?
Mutual friends, where we used to hang out at.
Okay. So in your explanation of the offense, or detailing of it, you really portrayed yourself as the primary aggressor. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So how did he get more time than you then?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, could be that they considered your age at the time of sentencing, and Kevin is 3 years older than you. So he was 20 years old when you were 17 at the time of this offense. I'm sorry.
We have information that Mr. Ramirez helped the prosecution of the co-defendant that they might otherwise not have.
Oh, right. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sure. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay. So 15 years really is a light sentence, right? For a loss of life. In addition to that, you're earning what, 4 days a month for credit time?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. But anyhow, so 1584 brings us here today. You certainly have taken advantage of all of your time in the facility, and you described all the things that you learned from your programming. One of my biggest questions was when exactly you turned it all around in your mind, and I think you spelled that out for us as well. We can see the turning point, and of course, you haven't had any disciplinary reports since 2016. You were still very young, so I'm curious to know how and why you decided to mentor and become part of the True Unit.
So when I first came into the program, my mentors, I was looking up to them, and they showed me.
I'm going to back up a little. How did you even learn of the program and decide to? You have to apply to get into that program, right?
Yes.
Okay. How'd that happen?
I was in MYI, and the counselor at the time that was there, she was coming up to do a tour in the True program, and she was telling us about it. And I felt like that was a good opportunity for me at the time because I was already on that path. I had just gotten my GED. I started turning my life around at that time, and I wanted to take more advantage of that. And so I asked her, I was like, when you go up there, would you mind having a conversation with the people up there and, how the application process worked. I wanted to learn more about it because I wanted to continue on the path of growth and development and change. And when she came back, she had an application for me. for a few of us, and I signed it out and I filled it out, and then I gave it to her, and then I had to wait the process. And then on October 2nd, 2017, it probably took maybe a few months that I had to wait, and then I got accepted into the TRUE program. So that's how that process went, and then that's when I went there on October 2nd, 2017.
Okay, so you were transferred specifically to enter the TRUE unit?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow. And how many people are in the TRUE unit now?
Oh, it's a lot, because we have two sides, so we have North 5 and North 6, so maybe around 100, around there maybe.
100, how many do you mentor?
I have a group of 4 individuals. It started off with 10 individuals. So as mentors, we get our selective group that we get to be a part of. And right now we have 4 individuals because certain individuals go home, or they don't, or things happen within the program and stuff like that. So they get removed for whatever reason. But as of right now, I have 4 individuals. I have a called W group, and I have 4 individuals that I mentor, along with another mentor.
Okay. Within the TRUE unit, how often would you say fights break out?
No fights at all.
Just
no fights.
You've never seen a fight? What about conflict, arguments?
Yes, there are conflicts, there are arguments, and we have these things called conflict circles. And I'm a mediator of a conflict circle. So my job is when a conflict happens, we take these guys to like a back room and we record them. And we have like 2 staff members there, the individuals involved in the conflict, and then you have the mediator, the liaison, who interferes into the conflict. And the whole process is we try to get to the root of the conflict and why individuals feel the way that they feel. So one individual will speak and they'll say how they feel about the situation. Then another individual will speak and they say how they feel about their situation. And whoever was involved in the conflict needs to be present. And then at the end, after everybody says what they need to say, and the mediator gets involved and try to understand what happened with the whole situation, then at the end they come to an agreement as to how they're going to be able to function in the community that they're in. Because eventually after that, they have to deal with each other because they got to deal with being in programs together, doing events together, doing different activities. And so after that, then we come to a conclusion, and then they agree upon, well, you know, I'm gonna go about it this way. We're gonna go about it this way, and most times it ends up very well. You know, they shake hands, they hug each other. It was just a misunderstanding. It was just in the heat of the moment, and it happens. And so that's usually how that process goes.
When's the last time you had an argument with someone?
It's been a while. It's been a long time. Me as an individual, I've learned how to be able to properly communicate more effectively without being offensive, without being aggressive, without being an aggressor. Because for me, it's all about communication. It's all about understanding the situation. It's all about understanding the individual's feelings, understanding what led us to that situation. And so I usually don't get into arguments. I usually just, we come to the individual, we sit down, we have a talk, because I feel like that's always the right resort to handle a situation instead of everybody being heated in the moment or everybody being, caught up being angry and things like that. So, but it's been a while for me.
And how often do you talk about your offense? The fact that you took someone's life?
So when people ask me, like when my mentees and ask me about my situation and things like that, those are usually conversations that I have with them. You know, when they ask me certain questions and I tell them about the bad decisions that I've made, I told them about, the impact that it's left on the community and loved ones and things like that. And I use my story and I share my story, not in a glorified way because I'm not proud of what I did.
No, of course not.
I'm embarrassed and ashamed of what I did. And so, but I use my story to try to help them to prevent from making the same mistakes, to show them a better way, to show them a better path. And so, and to let them know, like, if you continue on this path, if you continue on this mindset, that you could potentially be, in a situation where you're doing big time, and things like that, or you could harm somebody in a very bad way as I have. So I use my story in a sense to be able to help those individuals make better choices and decisions.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate your openness and your honesty. I think you could help people, especially out in the community. And regardless of what we do here today, your sentence ends in 2 years, and you'll still be very young. So you have the opportunity to go out there and make a difference in the community, so that others can avoid this path that you took, and maybe spare some other victims and their families the pain that you caused. I did read about all of your plans for the future. You have a lot of support. You received excellent evaluations, by the way, for your programming and work throughout the community. Thought I read somewhere that you even use C-CAR as a job on the outside. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Did you do the professional portion of the program?
Not yet, because we're
Okay.
limited with the type of resources that we could get from them.
Yeah.
But I am working with my recovery coach.
Okay. All right. And you have a girlfriend for support, although she lives in another state, right?
Yes.
There was some discrepancy. I know you mentioned your mom and the struggles when you were growing up, and now she's a support of yours. I thought I read somewhere that there was some abuse there when you were a child.
Yes.
Did you? Okay. So you found a way to overcome that?
Yes. As I grew older and I started really understanding things about my life and reflecting on the things that I've been through, and just understanding, different concepts of even my own parents. They've had their struggles. They've had the things that they've dealt with. And even though they didn't deal with things more efficiently all the time, a lot of it is because they didn't really have the tools to know how to do so, and to be able to properly, show love and care the way that, I needed it growing up. Just so, however, when me learning these things, learning about these different concepts, I was able to kind of make amends with that, and I was able to move on and understand them and still love them and forgive them for everything, because they've always loved me, and my mom always took good care of me. 4 children by herself, supporting us, having a roof over our heads, making sure that we were okay. So it wasn't easy on her either. And doing the things that I was doing at that age, I wasn't making it easy on her either. I was giving her, stressing her out and giving her headaches and doing all these things. So, so I'm able to, I love my family. I love my mom for everything she's ever done for me. And so, I'm able to make amends with those things and move forward in my life. And I give all the glory to God as well.
Okay. All right. Well, you certainly have grown. I can see the growth in you, and you have educated yourself. An associate's degree from Wesleyan means a lot in the community. I hope you understand that. You don't squander that. You really should continue with your education if you can when you're released. The group that you created in the True Unit, I read about that. How often is that group facilitated?
So it was originally is one group a day. It's for about an hour. Sometimes it goes a little bit more, depending how the conversations are going. It's 8 sessions. So it usually go about 2.5 months, 2 months. And so, for example, the first session we'll go over like family dynamics, and then we go over trust. Then we go over fatherlessness and motherlessness. Then we go over honesty. So we go different sessions, and I have a whole curriculum. I have a packet that I give ahead of time so the individuals could read up on the information. We could read, and then when we get to the program, we share each other's thoughts, we share each other's emotions, we share what we got from the group, from the programs, from the things that we read. And so it just becomes a collaborative effort. It becomes a great group dynamic. And so, we're able to bounce off each other's ideas. We're able to learn from each other. Sometimes it's hard because we dive into childhood traumas, childhood events and things like that. And so to make those individuals, the young brothers in there, make them feel comfortable, I share my story. I let them know where I've been, how I was at a young age, and things that I've experienced, kind of to give them the boost that they need to be able to know that they're not alone. So that's kind of what the whole program revolves around. It's just love and communication, showing them love, showing them care, showing them support. Because most of them are things that they didn't have growing up. And so I want to be able to show them that even though they didn't have those things growing up, they could learn about those things and they could apply those things to their life, and they could help other people do so as well. So
yeah, Yeah, that's great. You know, I appreciate that your group is helping others too. Have you thought about where you might be today if you didn't commit these offenses?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. And, you know, me being here and going through these situations and going through this business that I've been through, it made me who I am today. It helped me accomplish the things that I've accomplished. And of course, with the support and the help that I've had along the way, that was big for me as well. But honestly, I don't know where I'll be. I don't know if I'll be in the same situation. I don't know if I'll either be dead or worse, you know, with a bigger sentence or, you know, but I'm grateful that I am where I am today. And I'm grateful for, you know, the people that I got in my life never giving up on me.
You'll be out soon. After your sentence, you have 5 years probation. Do you have any reservations, or do you think you'll have any challenges? Do you worry about any of that?
I know, you know, being gone for so long, being in here, it's gonna take a while to kind of reintegrate back into society and get adjusted back to the norms, you know, and back to how society functions. Because I know it's a different world from what it was 11 and a half years ago with technology and all these things advancing. However, I think those things, you know, the transition a little bit, just getting back into society slowly. I think it'll be some challenges, it'll be some obstacles. However, you know, so it's all about facing them. It's all about moving forward. It's all about just taking one thing at a time, one step at a time, and just you know, with the support and the love that I have from the people that's willing to support me and help me, I will take advantage of that as well. So I know it'll make my road a little easier.
All right, thank you for speaking with me. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Berry. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Ramirez, I appreciate all the work that you've been doing to help other people there in the facility. It really does sound as if you've taken the time to work on yourself, to not because you were expecting to be released early, but because you realized and recognized that you really had to do something to change the trajectory of your own life. As the chair mentioned, this crime it's very concerning. I just couldn't even imagine, you know, this young man was out having, you know, some drinks, you know, and walking home, doing the responsible thing by walking home and not driving, and just happens to be a victim of circumstance, you know what I mean, just coincidence. It was very, very concerning to read. I heard you talking about the True unit, and again, I appreciate the work that you're doing there. Has anyone under your mentorship graduated the program?
So it's kind of hard to graduate the program because some individuals do graduate, depending on how much time that they have. It's usually a 2-year program. So right now, the group that I have, they're new. They've only been there for 6 months. And so they still have a whole 18 months left to go to kind of graduate the program. However, some individuals don't have the time to graduate it completely because some individuals go home. Some individuals get removed for whatever reason. So that's kind of how it goes at times. But we do have graduates in the program. But as of right now, my group of guys, no, they haven't graduated yet.
Have you seen any of the people that have been mentored return to that unit? In 7 years, you've been there a long time, so.
No, I haven't. Yes, I have seen mentors that have left and came back, you know, speak with us, you know, tell us about their success stories.
I'm talking about the mentees, like the
mentees.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, as far as they come back to the True unit, like once they leave, they come back to the True unit?
Like once they participate, however long they've been in there, say you said these people were 6 months and maybe they're released because their sentence is over. Do you ever see them come back with a new case or any of those people?
Yes. I've seen individuals come back with new cases and new situations. However, they don't come back into the True unit. Okay. You know, so when they come back, they go to a general population or something like that. You know, so.
And do you ever have an opportunity to speak with any of those people to see where things went wrong or how that program could have improved the chances of their not returning?
Yeah, so usually sometimes, depending if they're in the facility or not, sometimes, you know, the staff or the lieutenants, you know, bring them to the office, you know, we'll talk to them, see what happens. So we're always engaged, you know, we're always engaging with these guys, communicating with these guys, making sure, see where everything went wrong and things like that. So, but the discretion of like the lieutenants and things like that for us to
Yeah,
be
no,
able.
I would just think that being in such a program with so many moving parts, that you would always be working towards improving it, and where are we a little weak, or where could we be a little stronger, that to increase the chances of these people coming in the program and being released, being successful. So I know that ultimately that's your goal. So I thought that maybe that was just a discussion. Is there anything in there that you guys have talked about, or people aren't really, or people say that needs to be improved?
Yes, everything has challenges, everything has obstacles. So we're always constantly improving, when it comes to working together with the mentors, with the staff, with the counselors, making sure finding the best solutions for these group of guys, 18 to 25-year-olds, making sure that we get them the programming that they need, making sure that they get the support and the love that they need. One of the main priorities that we do up there is like we always push these guys to get their GED. So schooling is a main priority, programming is a main priority. So we're always having those conversations. We're always coming up in new ways of doing new things, finding new ways to be able to get more of these individuals involved. So we do have our meetings a few times a week. The mentors get together, the staff get together. We have our meetings, and we come up with different solutions on how to better the program.
Good. I read somewhere that you met your co-defendant in MYI. Is that right?
No, I had came home from MYI, and that's when I met him.
So you were out in the community, and
Yes.
you guys, and you were the one that propositioned him with, okay, let's rob some people.
Yes.
And have you seen him crossing paths, or since you've been there? No. Okay. And I wanted to talk about the victim piece just a little, because oftentimes where we have people come and sit before us and they've done well, such as yourself. I mean, honestly, to be down for 12 years and have 4 tickets, it is really, I'm going to say, unique. We don't see it very often. People come before us and they just can't seem to comply with the facility rules. What do you think? What information could you offer to the deceased victim's family and the victim that survived, to make them feel a little more comfortable about your returning out into the community? What information do you think? I mean, they'll never be made whole. You know what I mean? So you can't say, well, I'm sorry, because I'm sorry, that doesn't fix everything. These people, every holiday, I'm sure, every birthday, every anniversary of the death, they're constantly reminded that his life was cut short. So what do you think you could say to them that would provide some level of comfort, that when you're back out in the community, they don't really have to worry about you?
The information that I feel that I could give is leading by example. I say that by doing the things that I've been doing since I've been incarcerated. I understand the gravity of what I've done, and that's been my motivation to be a better person. It's been my motivation to be a better man. And so through my actions and the things that I've done, because I understand that words alone are nothing if you're not producing any actions behind it. And so the biggest thing that I could offer is me going out into the community and continuing my work of mentorship, continuing my work of commitment to change, continuing my work of bettering myself and growing and developing through my actions by leading by example. I feel like that's the biggest thing. And that's something that I have to do each and every day, that I've been doing each and every day. And that's something that I've committed myself to doing because I understand the gravity of the situation. And I feel like for me, that's big, because I feel like I have to be able to, people are always watching me. People are always looking. Even when you think people are not looking, people are always looking. And so I'm always aware that the way that I conduct myself and the way that I move forward in my life, that's going to say a lot because actions speak louder than words. And so I feel like, me going out into the community and doing all the things that I've set myself to do, I feel like that will be really big. And I will back up, be producing those type of works and producing those type of actions that will speak values.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Manager. Thank you, Ms. Turner.
So, Mr. Ramirez, you mentioned in your opening statement that you aspire to be a productive member of society. And we hear that a lot from individuals before us looking for release to parole. Can you tell me what that means to you? Because it seems to mean something different to most everyone.
So for me, it was kind of about how I was elaborating about, my mentorship, my actions behind everything that I've been doing. For me, it means dedication, it means commitment, it means change, it means humanity, it means value. And so when I think about those concepts and I think about those words, I think about going out there and helping people. Not being a liability, but being an asset, because throughout my whole life when I was out in the community and I was growing up, I was a liability. I was causing destruction. I was causing all these different things. I was causing harm. And
what
so,
else does a productive member of society look like to you?
For me, a productive member of society is someone who handles their business, who stands on business, who continuously seek to improve, who continuously seek to grow and develop, and who continuously continues to seek to help others achieve their dreams as well.
Okay, so would you add to that law abiding?
Yes.
Tax paying?
Yes. Working hard, going to school, doing the things that you need to do in order to be able to provide for yourself and your family.
But participating in community.
Yes.
Registering to vote, getting a library card.
Yes.
Making sure you don't drive without a driver's license, and all of those things that we do as adults that show our respect for the concept of society being a community in which we live and interact with other people.
Yes.
So, okay. And you had mentioned volunteer work in your opening statement, so I know that's part of that definition for you. You talked about recognizing that your crimes had an impact on the community, and these were two different assaultive acts that took place like 6 days apart or something. What do you think Waterbury, the citizens of Waterbury felt and the impact it had on them, hearing in the nightly news about these random assaults?
I would say that they felt scared. I would say that they felt unsafe. I would say that they felt just afraid.
Anxious?
To go, yes, anxious, nauseous, all these different feelings. Being able to just seeing those things and just thinking to yourself, I can't even go out and have a walk. I can't even go out and do this because I have to worry about all these things going on. And so I'm pretty sure.
Stay home and isolate and not participate in supporting my community because danger is out there.
Yes.
We haven't touched on, and I wanted to recognize that in the reports that we have, there was some targeting done of the people that you victimized. You had indicated that you were out to rob a Muslim dude in one case. And then in another case, the individual was on his way into a mosque when you guys rushed up on him from behind and assaulted him. So the point of this is that there was a particular community that was severely impacted by the choices that you and your co-defendant made. Can you talk about that?
Yes. I understand, you know, the community's definitely been impacted by those decisions. It was reckless. It was shameful. It was embarrassing, and just putting those people at risk like that, putting them at harm like that. You know, it made me realize that I really needed to do a lot of change within myself. And I understand that, you know, with the police being involved and the people coming together, like they were frightened, they were scared, they were afraid because of what just took place.
Well, because they felt targeted.
Yes.
For the violence that you inflicted on individual members of those communities in Waterbury. Okay,
Yes.
so there was, you know, there's a targeting, and that's, you know, perhaps fueled by racism, by other stereotypes and perceptions that you might have had, biases that you carried inside yourself that you would choose to target a Muslim dude, as you described it. Okay. So in the work that you do in the True Unit and in the efforts that you'll make going forward to make amends and give back, I would encourage you to talk to people about the harm and the risk to punching another person in the head. Because we often read cases where a punch to the head, the person falls, hits their head on a curb, and dies. Now, the intent wasn't to kill the person, but you never know what a punch to someone's head could do to them. You never know if they have underlying conditions that could be dramatically aggravated by a punch to the head. And in this case, with Mr. Negron, I just want to make sure that you are aware. I don't know if it was the punch to the head, the subsequent kicking, but he had a skull fracture. He had a brain bleed. He died of blunt head trauma. And this is, you know, your actions that day put him in a coma. You know, so we are really talking, you know, we're really talking, it doesn't get more serious than that. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And you, I would assume, believe yourself to be a poet.
Yes.
You've published. Okay. So you know that words matter. And I'm sure when you're crafting a poem, you're looking for the exact word and you're tossing out things that don't quite capture the feeling or the point that you're trying to make, right?
Yes.
Okay. So twice in your opening statement, you referred to your crimes as a mistake. And I want to challenge you on that, because these were choices that you made to target individuals and commit a crime. Not a mistake. No more than punching somebody in the head and having them hit their head on a curb would be an accident. You also said in your opening statement that at the time you felt nothing, that you were selfish, and that you didn't recognize your involvement in the tragic death of Mr. Negron. And I would encourage you to look for a more accurate word than involvement. You know, that along with mistake are gross minimizations of what you were doing out there in Waterbury at the time at a very young age. And the consequences are what you're living right now. I do want to recognize and tell you that I personally appreciate at sentencing that you apologized. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes victims wait decades to get the apology. And the fact that you offered it, that you participated with the prosecution, that you stepped up and began trying to make amends then, especially at a young age, facing a significant sentence. I'm certain that wasn't an easy thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. And I think it was the beginning of the necessary change in you. So that's all I wanted to talk to Mr. Ramirez about. I wish you much success going forward, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Okay, this time we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services. Ms. Hamlet Williams, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for having me. I do have the mother of the victim's children who would like to address the board today. One moment. Thank you. You may begin with your statement.
Good morning. I am the ex-girlfriend and mother of Carmelo Negron's child. I would like to thank the board for allowing me to speak on behalf of Carmelo's family. The last years have been full of sadness. His actions that day resulted in years of my child struggling with her mental, physical, and emotional health. Resulting in many hours of counseling, impacting school and everyday living. Carmelo has missed out on 10 grandchildren, and they have missed out the experience of having him as a grandfather. I am requesting he completes his sentence. In my opinion, it's the least that can be done for Carmelo's life being taken. I too have dealt with emotional, financial, and mental struggles since his passing, trying to raise a child that does not understand the why of Ramirez actions. Just like Ramirez did not have a father, now my kid does not have one. Ramirez can probably have a better life with him, and he probably found his forgiveness, but guess what? My children will never be able to. I thank you for the time and hope that the justice continues to be heard, because just like his father was his role model, my daughter's role model and hero was Carmelo Negron. And his actions were choices, not mistakes. And I leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your statement. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
At this time, the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, I'd like to start by thanking the parole board for this opportunity to address you today on this very serious matter. I'd like to remind the board this is not one but two robberies, one of which did end in the death of Carmelo Negron. Mr. Negron was minding his own business when the defendant and his co-defendant beat and kicked him to death. While the victim did die later from these injuries, it was a horrific time for the family. It was a senseless crime, and this defendant did acknowledge that he was the driving force behind the death. The transcript reflects that the defendant was already given consideration based on his age and cooperation with the state's attorney's office. Consideration was given in the charges and the right to argue. The max sentence was 40 years after 20 years to serve with 5 years probation. Again, due to the consideration of the defendant's age and the cooperation with the state's attorney's office, he was sentenced to 20 years after 15 years to serve with 5 years probation. This is considerably light for a crime resulting in the death of another. The state believes that the offer was fair and that any robbery is bad, but this was a heinous death case. The victim expressed outrage in the pre-sentence investigation, and the family was traumatized by the manner of death which occurred. The state feels that the offer was fair and objects to any alteration of the agreed upon sentence.
All set?
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn it over to the public defender. If you wish to proceed.
Yes, please. Members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to be heard by you today. I want to start by mentioning something that I know the board spoke to Mr. Ramirez about. He used words such as mistake, involvement, and I genuinely do not believe that is because he is minimizing what he did or the actions or the consequences that came from it. The consequence was the loss of someone's life. And the loss, there is nothing that can, no number that can be put on someone's life. No number of years, no amount of punishment. You cannot define somebody's life by that. And it is not that he is minimizing what he has done or the pain he has caused. More so that he has worked for the past 12 years to become the best version of himself. He has done everything in his power to become a completely different person than the person he was at 17 years old. And those words reflect the struggle within himself that he has returning himself to that day. However, he understands how important it is that he does return to that day and constantly remember the person he was, the young man who found himself in that situation, who made those decisions and behaved that way so that he never finds himself in a similar situation again. He is a young man that sits before all of us today with a heavy heart for what he has done. He is genuinely sorry for his actions. And I know that from the past year of conversations with him, as well as all of the things he has done while he has been incarcerated. The change he decided to make in 2016 and every day moving forward. He is genuinely sorry for the insurmountable pain he has caused, the unbelievable loss that what he stole from the victims realistically is time with a father, a grandfather, a family member that they love. He himself has experienced not having a father, so he understands not having that father figure, and he permanently took that away from someone else, and he is fully aware of that. There is no number of apologies, there is no amount of remorse that will ever make up what Mr. Ramirez stole from Mr. Negron and his family, and he understands that. He understands the gravity and the permanence of his actions, and through his actions since his incarceration, he has taken responsibility and accountability for that, and he continues to do so each day. As a result of his actions, this young man has spent his entire 20s calling Cheshire Correctional Institution home. However, during that time, he is wholeheartedly committed to change. He promised himself that he would do everything in his power to become the best possible version of himself. And he has detailed that better than I can throughout his opening statement. But to summarize, he's done every program that has been offered. And as you heard from him, he didn't just sit there. He didn't just go because he had to, but he actually participated and he took it seriously and he took away everything that he could from those programs. And then he continued to use what he learned in those programs to conduct himself in that manner and teach others to do the same. He even created his own program because he genuinely wants to help others. He's part of the TRUE program, which he's been part of for 7 years, even though from my understanding, he could have graduated from that program after 2 and just continued on his way. But instead, he became a junior mentor and he is now a mentor. It's something that he is passionate about and hopes to continue doing upon his release to the community. He's received his GED and associate's degree, and he has no plans of stopping there. He has further plans of continuing his education, being a productive member of society, which includes entering the workforce and getting in pursuing a career in either HVAC or as an electrician. He has maintained numerous jobs throughout his period of incarceration. He knows the importance of working hard and what hard work can bring you and how that will productively contribute to society on the outside. It productively contributes to his society that he has or is part of within the prison institution. He has also managed to stay out of trouble and ticket free for the past 9 years, which in these types of places is extremely rare and difficult, as the board knows. He wrote and published a book, and he has found his religion. He's done everything that he possibly can within these walls. He has taken advantage of every single possible opportunity he's been given to better himself, and he has availed himself of all the Department of Corrections has to offer. And it's not only what he has done during his incarceration, but what he plans to do upon his release. He has grand goals. He's very goal oriented, and he has these great plans for the future. He wants to continue to mentor others. He wants to help heal and give back to the community that he's harmed. He wants to prevent other people from making the same choices that he did, from ending up here. Mr. Ramirez wants to continue pursuing his education at Lincoln Tech. He plans to prioritize his family, who I've personally met, and they are an incredible support system to William. He will have a stable home where religion is fundamental, and he can continue his religious growth as well as his growth in the community with that necessary support. I truly believe that William has fulfilled his promise to become the best version of himself. And yet he will tell you that there is always room for improvement, because that's who he is. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that, he will continue to strive to do better. He is a leader and a mentor. He is an intelligent individual, and he's a thoughtful young man. The William that sits before you all today is an entirely different person than the 17-year-old who committed these crimes. And they are atrocious. They are heinous, and he will never disagree with those descriptions of that. But he will make sure that he is never in a position he'll never be in a position where those choices are even a possibility. And he will work for the rest of his life to make sure that he can prevent as many other people from being in a position where that's a possibility. He genuinely cares about others. And I think that this period of incarceration has given him the insight and the ability to realize how important humanity is, how important an individual's life is, and how many lives he ruined with the choices he made, not just his own, but Mr. Negron's, his family's, his 10 grandchildren that never got to meet him. This one decision or two decisions that he made had a lasting impact and effect that will forever be present, and he will always have to accept that and strive to never be back there. William spent the past decade committed to change. He has proved that through his actions during his entire incarceration. Today, I am asking the board to grant him parole and give him the opportunity to be that person and to prove to all of us the person that he has worked so hard to become, and allow him to do so in the community. He will be, as the board knows, he will be supervised for an additional period of 5 years after his eventual release from parole as well. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Ramirez, so at this time, the panel will enter into deliberation to discuss your case, and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to thank the victim's family member for coming forward and giving a statement here today. Very brave, and we're, of course, sorry for your loss and continued pain. Okay. Okay, so we're here for Mr. Ramirez's 1584 hearing. The public act sets forth very specific criteria. We knew before we came here today, but he further expanded on all of the programming that he participated in. Really has only had 4 disciplinary reports with the last 11 and a half years, has been educating himself and mentoring others, participating in the True Unit, and working multiple jobs throughout his time in prison. He has positive supports. He has a release plan, a recovery coach set up, some job possibilities that we spoke a little bit about. This is a horrible offenses, I should say. It's not just one offense, but loss of life here in just such a brutal way. It's such a tragedy for everyone involved. The fact remains that Mr. Ramirez will be released in 2 years, regardless of what we do here today. He does have 5 years of probation to follow his sentence. He's eligible for parole later this year in September, so 6 years from now. I do believe that he meets all the criteria set forth in Public Act 1584. I believe that there's a reasonable probability that he would go out into the community and remain crime-free. I also believe that he has exhibited substantial rehabilitation through maturation, growth, programming, work, just his experiences and time. You know, he was 17 years old when he came in here. And I don't believe that there would be a further benefit to incarceration. I think society would benefit more from his release than from continued incarceration. I think he would probably benefit from a year and a half of parole supervision and support prior to ending his sentence. So I would support a granting of parole in this case. Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, you know, I always grapple with the length of the sentence versus and the crime and all the good things that, you know, these people do while they're in the facilities. And I'm just like, for the taking a life of a person 15 years, I really do believe is, you know, a reasonable sentence. I mean, it's probably less than what we just seen. I mean, that was the conviction, but a manslaughter case and all these robberies, intentional. I really do believe, though, that Mr. Ramirez has done a tremendous work in the facility, and I'm sure that he has helped change some other people's lives. And I hope that he continues to positively impact other people that he comes across their paths. I'm still, I mean, on one hand, I want to say I would support his discretionary parole because he does meet the criteria. And on the other hand, I'm thinking that the nature of the crime is in the magnitude of, you know, his actions really is making me lean more towards not supporting. So I don't know. I heard what you said. I mean, see, Ms. Turner, what are your thoughts?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Turner.
So I feel a little differently because I think ultimately he will be contributing back to the community, and that can happen at end of sentence, on probation, after probation, so forth. I think the stabilizing effect of parole on this initial transition after a lengthy period inside, starting at a very young age, is probably warranted. A couple of things that stood out for me with Mr. Ramirez, the apology at sentencing. He got consideration. There was reference at sentencing to his sentences running concurrent because he cooperated, and because without his cooperation, they didn't think they'd be convicting his co-defendant. So, so there was some immediacy to doing the right thing. I can't say making amends yet. One of the things that really stood out for me in his opening statement, and we don't see this as often as you would think, he really put his cards on the table about who he was at the time of the crime. He talked about being immature, impulsive, reacting to what he thought was an affront in the victim's attitude. Said, quite honestly, he never once considered the impact of what he was doing, that he felt nothing, that he knew his actions were selfish. And then he went on to talk about living his apology through his actions every day. And he's done that in the facility, and I feel confident that he'll do that out in the community. It just really stood out for me that he was so aware, or is now so aware of who he was then.
Right.
And as a barometer to the change of who he is now. And, you know, we didn't get into, you know, where things stand with his father now. And I'm glad that he's talking to other young men in the True Unit about those conflicted relationships and not having our needs met as children. And that he could get to a place of being able to forgive his parents,
right,
and not carry that around or use it as an excuse for, you know, continuing to act out of rage. So with all of that said, and, you know, I completely get where you're at, because 15 years for a life.
Yeah.
He took a man's life when he was 46. And I hope for Mr. Ramirez, when he gets to 46, that will be a profound point in his life to realize that everything he lives after that, he had denied his victim and his victim's family. But I am willing to grant today.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Conditions. I only have one person, victim family member, JN. And then we have the surviving victim and the co-defendant. Is there anything else? Okay, in the matter of William Ramirez, I mean, number 395107, I'll make a motion to grant parole effective September 12th, 2025, with the following additional conditions. You're to have no contact with the family member of the victim, initials JN, no contact with the robbery victim, initials WH, and no contact with your co-defendant, Evan Lawton. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? No. Okay, so it's a unanimous decision. Your parole has been granted. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Okay, all right, you'll get everything in writing, and we wish you the best. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.
This concludes This concludes the parole hearing for William Ramirez. It is 12:21 p.m.
We'll take a 10-minute break before we start the next case. We'll come back at 12:30.
I got to tell you, I don't see what the parole board saw in this situation. I take a step back and I hear someone who is a self-described poet, someone who publishes a book while in prison, someone who would have the understanding of the power of words. And thank you very much for the parole board member to bring up that really critical fact. I think it was Zaccanini or it might have been Turner that said that. Let me read to you some of the things that he said. I mean, not only does when he's apologizing in his little novel that he writes, not only does he mention twice that it was a mistake, or that he mentions that I participated in it, but he also says the classic line that we see all the time, the line that just drives me nuts because of how little insight it has, how insane of a statement it is, yet how almost all of these murderers and criminals say it, which is, and he's addressing the victims when he says this: if I could go back in time and change the way of my actions, I would do it without any hesitation. And it's like, what? Oh, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing that if you could go back, you wouldn't even hesitate. You wouldn't even hesitate to do it. It's so meaningless. It's so like Like, what does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. And it's just like, it feels like this. And again, how do you go through the entire statement? You have your attorney, you have your social worker, you have all these years to think about what you're going to write in your opening statement, and you spend most of it talking about your poor self, boo-hoo, all of what you went through, like without even seeing the irony that you killed a father, and now it's because you grew up without a father that you would even do that, and you show up. And I just feel like you make it about yourself and you're dishonest. He doesn't mention the second crime. He doesn't mention that it seems like it was a hate crime. I know they didn't charge him with that. Maybe they, had that floating around as a negotiation, but it certainly seems that way. It was all for a pack of cigarettes and $30 that he took from that man. And he also says, it's like he went out there. I don't think, it didn't seem to me like he went out there to rob someone. I think he went out there to beat someone, right? And he goes there, and this is what he says even in his opening remarks. I asked him for a little bit of change, and he said no, and then I felt disrespected and I lost it. And it's like, that's also disingenuous. What do you mean you felt disrespect? You weren't asking for change. If he would have given you some change, he had $30. If he would have given you a cigarette and a couple of bucks, go get a meal, you wouldn't have beat the crap out. You made up your decision to beat him up before you even spoke to him. You knew what you were going to do. You were out for blood from the moment you stepped out there. Isn't it funny? He rats on his co-defendant who gets 5. His co-defendant got 20 years. He gets 15. Then he gets 4 days of good time for all, right? He ends up serving, he gets 2 years paroled, even though he's a 5 years probation. So he takes a man's life in a brutal assault over $30 and a pack of cigarettes. He says in this poet and author says that it was a mistake. He feels sorry that he participated in this event. He blames it on not having a father figure. And then what's he end up serving? I forget, but I think 12 years. 12 years. And through this 12 years, he gets an associate's degree. He gets a trade skills. He gets, and the victims, you hear the victims are still suffering. The victims can hardly make it through. The victims are left without a father, without a boyfriend, without a son, without a provider. And you know what this rule is about? So it's a law. It passed in 2015, known as 1584. And it allows prisoners who committed crimes as juveniles, he was 17, and are sentenced between 10 and 50 years to be eligible for parole if they've served 12 years or 60% of their sentence. That's just an automatic rule in Connecticut. So yeah, I bet you this was his 12-year mark. They say, look, so if you want to play devil's advocate, he did do well in prison. He did, we see every type of inmate. There are inmates that just, crash and burn. They join the gangs, they fight, they get more felonies while in there. He has devoted himself to doing the right thing. And you might argue because of all that hard work, he can earn the 2 years. But there's one thing that they forget so often to take into consideration at these parole hearings, and that is that there are 3 reasons to incarcerate. There's rehabilitation, there's protection from the community, and then there's retribution. And you could say, like the parole board said, well, I don't think he's a risk to the community. Okay. well, I think he's been rehabilitated. Okay. It's like, well, then what about the retribution? How can you possibly believe that 12 years for taking a life? And this wasn't like a street bar, you're in a bar and it's mutual combat and you made a he robbed the guy. And then when the guy was willing to give him the money, he didn't care. He beat him. And he continued to when he was on the floor in the fetal position. And then he went out and did another robbery. And these are the only two that he's caught. Now, I'm only, how often are people only caught 100% of their time? But it wouldn't be hard to say, you know what, because I don't want to re-victimize the victim. They're here. This is a serious crime. He got 5 years off. He got the good time. I mean, the way that the good time is calculated, it's what was it? 4 days for every month. And if you do the math, and there's a whole lot of good time. And 4 days each month, so 48 days a year off his sentence, just for, breathing in prison. And remember, again, he completely pretended that he didn't have another victim. And it was like he kind of like, tried to hide. So it's weird. It's just strange to me. But they said, you know what? We don't really care about the victim. We don't care about the victim's feelings. There's no benefit to society to keep him in here. And that's what we saw. How do you feel about it? With that, I'll let you go.
I am requesting he completes his sentence. In my opinion, it's the least that can be done for Carmelo's life being taken. I too have dealt with emotional, financial, and mental struggles since his passing, trying to raise a child that does not understand the why of Ramirez actions. Just like Ramirez did not have a father, now my kid does not have one. Ramirez can probably have a better life with him, and he probably found his forgiveness, but guess what? My children will never be able to. I thank you for the time and hope that the justice continues to be heard, because just like his father was his role model, my daughter's role model and hero was Carmelo Negron.